The world watched in horror as the German army marched into Poland. It was September 1st, 1939. This act of aggression marked the beginning of World War II, the deadliest conflict in human history. The invasion of Poland was the culmination of years of tension and turmoil in Europe. To understand how this catastrophic war began, we need to go back to the aftermath of World War I. The Treaty of Versailles cast a long shadow over Europe. Germany felt humiliated and vengeful. The economic hardship caused by the treaty fueled anger and discontent. This created fertile ground for extremist ideologies like Nazism to take root. The treaty also failed to address the underlying issues that had led to World War I. Nationalism, imperialism, and militarism were still rampant in Europe. The League of Nations, created to prevent future wars, proved ineffective. It lacked the power and the will to enforce its decisions. The years between the two world wars were marked by economic depression and political instability. The Wall Street crash of 1929 sent shockwaves through the global economy. Millions were unemployed. People lost faith in democracy and capitalism. In this climate of fear and uncertainty, extremist movements flourished. In Germany, the Nazi Party, led by Adolf Hitler, exploited the situation. Hitler offered simple solutions to complex problems. He promised to restore Germany to its former glory. Adolf Hitler was a charismatic and ruthless leader. He tapped into the anger and resentment felt by many Germans. He promised to overturn the Treaty of Versailles, rebuild the German army, and create a greater German Reich. Hitler's message resonated with many Germans. The Nazi Party gained popularity, exploiting the weaknesses of the Weimar Republic, Germany's fragile democracy. By 1933, Hitler had become Chancellor of Germany. He quickly consolidated his power, transforming Germany into a totalitarian dictatorship. Section 5. A policy of appeasement. As Hitler rearmed Germany and expanded his territory, the other European powers watched with concern. However, they were reluctant to confront him directly. They hoped that by appeasing his demands, they could avoid another war. This policy of appeasement proved to be a grave mistake. Hitler interpreted it as weakness. He became bolder and more aggressive. In 1938, he annexed Austria into Germany. The world did nothing. Emboldened, Hitler then set his sights on Czechoslovakia. Section 6. A pact with the devil. In August 1939, Hitler made a pact with Soviet dictator Joseph Stalin. The German-Soviet non-aggression pact shocked the world. It was a pact of convenience, born of mutual suspicion and a desire for territorial gain. The pact contained a secret protocol that divided Eastern Europe into spheres of influence. Poland, caught between Germany and the Soviet Union, was to be partitioned. With his eastern border secure, Hitler felt free to move against Poland. The stage was set for war. Section 7. The Seeds of War. The invasion of Poland was the spark that ignited the powder keg of Europe. On September 1st, 1939, the world watched in horror as the German army marched into Poland, a nation unprepared for the ferocity of the Blitzkrieg. This act of aggression was not an isolated incident, but the culmination of years of tension and unresolved conflicts. The seeds of war had been sown long before, in the aftermath of World War I. The Treaty of Versailles, with its harsh reparations and territorial losses imposed on Germany, created a breeding ground for resentment and nationalism. The rise of Hitler, who capitalized on this discontent, and the policy of appeasement adopted by European powers further destabilized the region. The German-Soviet non-aggression pact, signed in August 1939, was a shocking alliance that allowed Hitler to invade Poland without fear of Soviet intervention. This pact, along with the failure of diplomatic efforts to contain Germany's ambitions, set the stage for a conflict that would soon engulf the entire world. On September 1st, 1939, the world watched in horror as the German army marched into Poland. The swift and brutal invasion demonstrated the effectiveness of Germany's military strategy and left the international community scrambling to respond. This act of aggression marked the beginning of a 6-year-long conflict that would engulf the globe, leaving an indelible mark on human history. The war would see unprecedented levels of destruction and loss of life, reshaping the political and social landscape of the 20th century. The seeds of war, planted in the aftermath of World War I, had finally borne their bitter fruit. Section 8. The invasion of Poland. On that fateful morning, German forces unleashed their Blitzkrieg, or lightning war, on Poland. This military tactic combined fast-moving tanks with overwhelming air power, quickly overwhelming the Polish defenses. The Polish army, though courageous, was no match for the might of the German war machine. Cities and towns were bombed, civilians were caught in the crossfire, and Poland's resistance crumbled under the relentless assault. The speed and ferocity of the attack shocked the world. Section 9. A declaration of war. Great Britain and France, bound by their treaty obligations to defend Poland, declared war on Germany on September 3, 1939. This momentous decision came after Germany's relentless aggression and invasion of Poland, which began on September 1st. The world held its breath as the two European powers took a stand against the Nazi regime. The British Empire and the Commonwealth nations soon followed suit, joining the Allied side of the conflict. From Canada to Australia, the call to arms was answered with unwavering resolve. Recruitment posters adorned the streets, and young men enlisted in droves, ready to defend the principles of freedom and democracy. However, the declarations of war came too late for Poland. The country, caught in the crossfire of powerful forces, faced devastating consequences. German tanks rolled through Polish towns and cities were bombed mercilessly. The Polish people endured unimaginable hardships as their homeland was ravaged by war. The country was quickly overrun, partitioned between Germany and the Soviet Union according to the terms of their secret pact. This agreement, known as the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, had sealed Poland's fate even before the first shots were fired. The world was shocked by the collaboration between two seemingly opposing ideologies. The world watched in disbelief as Europe, still reeling from the horrors of World War I, descended once again into the abyss of global conflict. The memories of the Great War were still fresh, and the scars had barely begun to heal. Yet here was another cataclysm threatening to engulf the continent and beyond. Nations mobilized their forces, and the specter of war loomed large over the entire world, signaling the beginning of a long and arduous struggle for peace and justice. Section 10. A world at war. The invasion of Poland marked the beginning of a global conflict that would rage for 6 long years. Over the course of the war, more than 30 countries would be drawn into the fighting, spanning across Europe, Asia, Africa, and the Pacific. From the beaches of Normandy to the jungles of Southeast Asia, from the deserts of North Africa to the icy waters of the Atlantic, World War II would see some of the most brutal and costly battles in human history. Section 11. A legacy of conflict. World War II left an indelible mark on human history. It was a conflict of unprecedented scale and intensity, involving more than 100 million people from over 30 countries. The war's impact was felt in every corner of the globe, altering the course of nations and the lives of countless individuals. It resulted in an estimated 40 to 85 million fatalities, the vast majority of whom were civilians. The sheer scale of the human cost was staggering, with entire communities wiped out and millions more displaced from their homes. The war's brutality was not confined to the battlefield. It reached into the very heart of civilian life. The war also led to unprecedented levels of destruction, leaving entire cities in ruins and economies shattered. Major cities like London, Berlin, and Tokyo were heavily bombed, resulting in widespread devastation. The infrastructure of many countries was left in tatters, requiring years of rebuilding and recovery efforts. While the Allied victory ultimately brought an end to the Nazi regime and the atrocities it committed, the war's legacy continued to shape the world for decades to come. The liberation of concentration camps revealed the horrific extent of the Holocaust, leaving an indelible scar on human consciousness. The triumph over tyranny was a moment of relief, but it also marked the beginning of a long and complex process of healing and reconciliation. The conflict led to the rise of the United States and the Soviet Union as superpowers, setting the stage for the Cold War. This new geopolitical landscape was characterized by a tense rivalry that influenced global politics for the next half-century. The ideological battle between capitalism and communism played out in various arenas, from the space race to proxy wars in different parts of the world. It also resulted in the formation of the United Nations, a global organization dedicated to preventing future conflicts. The UN aimed to foster international cooperation and ensure that the horrors of World War II would never be repeated. Its creation marked a significant step towards a more collaborative and peaceful international order. The lessons learned from the war, particularly the devastating consequences of unchecked aggression and the importance of international cooperation, continue to resonate today. Memorials and peace treaties serve as reminders of the past, urging current and future generations to strive for a world where such a conflict never occurs again. The legacy of World War II is a powerful testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the enduring quest for peace and justice.